Good afternoon, my brothers and sisters. Last podcast I talked about was about driving through from the East Coast back to Vegas and Ohio, Iowa, Nebraska, the beautiful farm belt in America, what makes America roll. Just nature at its best. There's all forms of nature around us, all around us to enjoy, look at, and enjoy. Swimming in the ocean, swimming in the rivers, skiing in the mountains, surfing, whatever it may be, enjoying nature to its fullest is what God intended us to do. So God is all around us because nature is all around us, and our Creator created everything there is for us to see and enjoy. The earth is the most beautiful place. It has to be the most beautiful place in the universe because we'll never discover anything more beautiful in our lifetime. So consider this a fact. Earth is the most beautiful place in the universe. Well, like I was talking about politicians, let me get back into politicians a little bit because politics is a big game that they're playing on the American people. Because, the Democratic politicians are the worst of all. They'll take any kind of money from any donor there is because they want to raise as much money as possible because the more money they have, the greater they think the chance is of beating the Republican they're running against. That's how Democrats think and act because they don't really have any agenda to talk about. They just try to power play their way in. So they'll take donations from anybody, anyone. So they're the most corrupt politicians of all. But Republicans are corrupt also. The congressmen, congresswomen, and senators, they are corrupt also. Anybody who accepts donations from Big Pharma is not representing the American people. They're allowing the lobbyists to corrupt their thought and get them to intact like Viagra and Cialis required by prescription. That's why the law will never be changed unless an infiltrator comes in, like Elon Musk or somebody who has a great influence on the government. And Elon Musk is the greatest as far as I'm concerned. He's the one who exposed the government for the fraud and all the money they were wasting from the American people that the taxpayers were paying. So this deal about Minnesota, it's going to come out and it's going to blow wide open, and Waltz is going to continue to lie his ass off because he's a natural-born liar. He's a sociopath. Just like every other Democratic politician, they'll try to lie their way out of the box. But you can't lie your way out forever. Eventually, you're going to get caught. And you can't pump fake God. You can pump fake people, like I got pump faked by my lawyers, stealing $150,000 from me. That's a lot of money. $150,000 is a lot of money to me. It might not be to Donald Trump or another billionaire or Elon Musk who donated $40 million to the Republican campaign. To donate that much money is incredible, but it's not much money to him. It's just like this guy's making over $1 million a day, I'm sure. I mean, it's not hard to throw money away and throw money at your favorite candidate when you have the kind of money that Elon Musk has. Trump was a sucker. He used to give money to the Democrats. So he was not a Democrat, but he used to give. I guess he was a Democrat, but he never ran. He was a Democrat, but he never ran as a Democrat. He never ran for office for the presidency as a Democrat. Other politicians will run as a Democrat, and if they can't make it, they'll run as a Republican, back, and vice versa. They've done it in the past, and they'll do it in the future. But Donald Trump was a sucker by giving the Clintons money, by donating money to them, because they turned around and bit him in the ass like a rattlesnake will do. A human rattlesnake will bite you in the ass every time they can get away with it. And that's exactly what they do because that's how they think. They're vindictive. They don't have any loyalty. You can't be loyal to others if you look yourself in the mirror and you're lying in the mirror. So there's no way you can be honest with other people if you're not honest with yourself. And that's how Democrats are. They're all sociopathic liars, especially Hillary Clinton. Obama is a liar. Obama doesn't want to admit to the public that he's gay. He never did want to admit to it, but he's gay. No doubt about it. Get the video Trump card. created by Dinesh D'Souza. Great video. It also shows Ocasio-Cortez, the bitch from hell, sitting up on her patio or on top of the rooftop in Boston or New York or wherever she was. And she's laying there on her rooftop and laying in the sun. Oh, jolly as could be. Just acting like, do you really believe that she represents the American people? She has no business sense whatsoever. She's never been in business. She was a cocktail waitress and a bartender in Manhattan. The only good thing about Ocasio-Cortez, she was born in Queens just like Trump. That's the only positive thing about Ocasio-Cortez as far as I'm concerned. She was lucky enough to be born in the same borough. Getting back to politicians on the take, the Democratic politicians are by far the worst. Then you have some Republicans that like to expose themselves and put themselves on national television as much as possible. A couple of slick star Republicans are Lindsey Graham and Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. The one from Louisiana, not Robert F. Kennedy. I'm not bad-mouthing him, even though he's been on the take also, because he's doing a good job for the government right now. So I've forgiven him because he backed Trump. That's what I like about RFK. He had balls enough to back Trump. Good for him. I hope he does a great job. But he'll do a much better job if he learns about the Roadrunner and who I am and my knowledge about sex capsules, because sex capsules are the healthiest, most heart-friendly medicine in the world. Not to mention they add natural testosterone to a man's body, or even a woman if they take the milk capsule, which I recommend pregnant women do. And I'll get back to that in just a second. But let me talk about the politicians that are really corrupt and they're slick stars. The two greatest slick stars in the Republican Party are both senators, Lindsey Graham and Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. In fact, Senator Kennedy, is more slick than Lindsey Graham. Let me tell you why. Senator Kennedy, takes donations, has taken donations from all different types of companies, all different kinds of businesses, all different kinds of markets. And he takes a lot from the oil industry. He's taken from the pharmaceutical industry. Takes whatever donations he can. He thinks like a Democrat. I'll tell you why he's not sure that he's a Republican, because 10 years ago or 15 years ago, up to 20 years ago, he ran as a Democrat for the Senate in Louisiana and lost both times. Lost both times running as a Democrat within the last 20 years. Lost both times and then switched over to running as a Republican, and he won the election the first time he ran as a Republican. So in the past, he ran two separate times, two different Senate races as a Democrat. Amazing. And then he switches over to running as a Republican, and he gets elected. And he talks like he does. He's a slick star. He's slick. He's more slick than Lindsey Graham. He'd be a better lawyer in real life than Lindsey Graham. I can guarantee it. Lindsey Graham is too obvious about the way he goes about getting money. He'll ask for money every time he's on national TV. Donate this, donate that. The American people don't want to hear that. Give us your opinion and stop asking for money every time. We're big boys. We can decide if we want to donate money. We don't need to be reminded on national television by you every time you get up and try to expose yourself as a true politician for the people, because you're not. First book out listed is Beehive Golden Pond in East Wendover, Utah. Wendover's actually a border town, so it's in two states, this small city of 6,000 people, about 90% Spanish people. What a beautiful town this is. That's Beehive Golden Pond on 479 Wendover Boulevard in Wendover, Utah. Buy a book there and get the free hat along with any book purchase. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. Lindsey Graham is like a greedy politician, just like many others, just like other Republicans. But in my opinion, I think I rate them as the two greediest Republican senators in the Senate, because they go out of their way so much to expose themselves and try to fool the American people that they're really, truly representing them. They represent themselves. That's who they represent. And they're both very wealthy, trust me on that. A lot of these politicians are ex-lawyers. They really didn't believe in themselves enough to make money in private practice, or if they were a successful lawyer. Well, if you're a successful lawyer in private practice, would you want to quit your job and run and be a politician? Of course not. Successful attorney that's really good at what he or she does would want to continue doing what they're doing, especially if their success is greater than others. As far as I'm concerned, most politicians are lazy attorneys, and they're looking for an easy way out to make money behind closed doors, and that's what they do, and that's what they've done in the past. So I'm here to expose them for the crooks they really are. This is the reason why I'm indicted in federal court, because I represented the American people indirectly selling sex capsules. I kept people alive. I kept people from having heart attacks, men and women. I kept men and women from inheriting Alzheimer's disease. I added natural testosterone to a man's body, which is a necessity to reproduce. And what greater gift is there than giving birth? A woman giving birth when a man planted the seed. I'm not talking about test tube babies, which they're trying to incorporate in the future. I'm talking about a real baby from a real woman out of his or her mother's womb. That's a human being, a real human being to me. I don't like the fact that they're going to try to incorporate test tube babies in the future, but that's what they're going to try to do, especially if man's testosterone level dwindles down to a lower amount and keeps on going lower and lower as decades go by. 15% man's testosterone level has lowered in America in the last 10 years. 15%. That's more than 10% every decade. And that's going up. That's going to escalate as time goes on if we don't do anything about it, if we don't take care of our business. And that means staying away from the 4-day work weeks and improving our diet and stop eating fast foods, eating good food that Robert F. Kennedy suggests. But Robert F. Kennedy knows more about food than I do. Okay, I'll admit that. I'm not a specialist about food. And I hope he becomes a specialist about food. And if he is already, great. But I think he'll improve as time nears by. But I'm a specialist about sex capsules. That's what I sold for 16 years. And I'm the most knowledgeable person about sex capsules in the world, in the entire planet. God intended me to become successful in the sex pill business because he knew I had the character for it, and that's why he put me on the path, because he knew I would enjoy it, because I enjoy sales in the first place. I enjoy talking. I'm a people person. I don't know how anybody could be happy if they weren't a people person in today's world. But if you like seclusion, which I do, I like secluse. I like to be alone. I like to be alone with my dog. My dog doesn't have to talk to me, and I don't have to talk back to my dog, although I do talk to my dog and tell her how much I love her and give her kisses and hugs as often as I possibly can, and she'll hug me back and give me kisses also. How a dog hugs you, they'll come right up next to your body and they'll rub up against your body. That's when a dog is hugging you and letting you know that they want to be hugged. A dog can't grab its legs and arms around you and hug you like we can hug them. But they'll come up and put their body right next to you and rub up against you and give you a kiss and everything else. And that's when a dog is hugging you. So, getting back to the beautiful country we live in, there's one thing I want to say before I say that, and that's women that are pregnant when they take sex capsules and they have high blood pressure. It's the best multi-purpose vitamin a woman can take because they need that blood flow to go throughout their body unobstructed. and to get to their baby's womb, because now they have an extra living thing in their body. And if the blood was not flowing properly throughout her body, and now she gets pregnant, and now it's much harder to pump the blood throughout her body and to her baby's womb, she's going to have a heart attack, or she's going to have some form of heart failure. Heart disease is caused by lack of blood flow, I can guarantee it. Nature is logic, so I'm going to tell you logically. And this is my opinion, and this is my very strong opinion. Heart disease is created, and all different forms of heart disease are created from lack of blood flow. Now, a lot of these pregnant women, they die from having heart attacks while they're pregnant. A lot of them are in rural areas where the doctor can't get to them in time. And that's another thing about America, our rural areas. We don't have big major cities like they do in India or China, where they have 22, 30 million people in a city. We have New York City, we have LA, and we have Houston, Texas. Those are our three major cities in America. And other than that, you have many cities in India that are more populated than our major cities in America, including China. So the population base is much more concentrated in major cities overseas, in third world countries. Even Vietnam. Saigon is the largest city in Vietnam, and it's roughly 20 million people. It's busier than New York City and any borough. Saigon is busier than any city in New York. And that's constant. That's every day of the year. And it's not just on weekends like New York City or during holidays or during tourist season. That's every day of the year. Saigon is busier than New York City, any borough in New York City. So that's power to me as far as like big cities. We don't have the big cities in America. We have a lot of rural areas, a lot of small towns. The doctor can't get to that pregnant woman in time, and she'll have a heart attack before the doctor can get to her. And the heart attack's caused because of lack of blood flow, and their heart becomes overexerted, stressed out, and their heart bursts. That's what happens. In my opinion, and this is a very strong opinion, the blood flowing throughout a woman's body to her baby's womb, enabling the blood flow to come into the baby itself, he or she is going to develop, their organs are going to develop more readily and more greatly if they have healthy blood flow, including their heart, which is going to be stronger and healthier because they have healthy blood flow throughout their body. Now, I can't state this as a fact as of now, but I can guarantee you that if women start taking more sex capsules readily that have high blood pressure, I can guarantee you that the death rate among pregnant women is going to go down due to heart disease. And many of those women won't have heart attacks either. I can guarantee that. That's how strongly I feel about this. And I feel the same way about a baby's organs developing more quickly, more readily, and more effectively and stronger to their maximum development, whatever organ it is in their body, all the way to their hands and toes, greater development. Because the blood flow needs to flow throughout every inch of our body for proper development. And an infant's life, we know as a fact that the first 6 years of an infant's life, from the time of birth to the time they're 6 years old, is the greatest time of development for the human body. So why wouldn't it be a powerful thing for a baby in a mother's womb for the same development before they're born? Nature's logic, and that's logical thought I'm giving you, so believe me, a baby will develop more readily, more effectively, and will have stronger organs throughout his or her body, stronger bones. Everything will develop more effectively in a baby's body with proper blood flow. Because blood flow is the key to life. Our body is like nature. It's just a different form of nature. And every organ in our body depends on all the other organs and lives off our heart. Every organ lives off our heart, all the way up to our brain. If we lose blood flow to our brain, we go brain dead. If we lose blood flow for so long, our brain goes dead, and we lose our mental ability to even think in the future. Trust me. I'm straight from the street. I'm not a doctor. I don't have to be a doctor to understand nature. I didn't have to go to school for this. Spiritual thought has taught me about nature, because nature is God, and nature is logical thought. Now, getting back to the politicians not telling the public about how healthy sex capsules are, and keeping that information from the public so that they can protect the lobbyists that are donating money for their future campaign each time they run for office, whether it be every 2 years or every 4 years. They are not going to badmouth the pharmaceutical company when they continue to give them money. That's why they donate money, because they want power. They want power in Washington, D.C. They want to influence the politicians in Washington, D.C. That means they want to influence, continually influence the judicial branch of the government. And that's exactly what's going on. Every time they run for election, they get money from Big Pharma. 98% of all politicians in the judicial branch of our government. That's incredible. And it needs to stop. And Trump needs to put his foot down and expose them for it, because I'm going to do everything in my power to expose them for it right now. They want to kick me out of the sex pill business, which they did 2 years ago, and they want to give me the boot. Fine. They want to take me to court. They want to try to arrest me for it. I'm going to win my case in court. They want to try to lock me up. They can kiss my ass, because I'm not. I didn't do anything bad to anybody. All I did was kept people alive. And I'm going to fight for what I believe in till the day I die. Now I'm fighting in a different way. Indirectly, I was representing the American people in the sex capsule business, because I was keeping people alive by wholesaling my goods and making sure they hit the shelves where people could buy them. Locally, everywhere that I sold, and I only sold in 3 states in America. That's it. I mean, I sold a little bit in Portland, a little bit in Phoenix. I don't consider that sales for one city, and 1 city in Idaho, or 2 cities in Idaho, and that's all that I sold in. What I'm saying is like 1 city in Oregon, which was Portland. Utah, I sold readily in Utah, and I sold readily in Las Vegas. But that was it. That was my market. That was my biggest market, was Vegas and Utah. And that's what I worked readily. I very rarely worked any of the other markets, maybe once a year. That's all I had to go to all those other markets, was once each year, just make a visit, and that was it. But the Utah market and Vegas market, they were like my home. And I'm proud of what I did. So when I represented the American people indirectly and kept people alive, I didn't hurt anybody. So the federal government can kiss my ass. I know that I'm not guilty of doing anything as a criminal that they're trying to arrest for other things, such as murder or robbing a bank or committing other crimes. The only crime committed is back in Washington, D.C., by the politicians continuing to put and lock up sildenafil and tadalafil being required by prescription, because they don't enforce it in the first place. Sex capsules sell everywhere throughout America. They're on the shelves throughout America, everywhere you can imagine. They actually keep stores from going broke because the profit margin is high when they sell a sex capsule blister pack. They make a lot of profit. Liquor stores make more profit off a blister pack, a sex capsule blister pack, than they do any bottle of liquor. The profit margin is higher on a sex capsule blister pack than any bottle of liquor they sell in their stores. And they specialize in liquor. Now, liquor stores can't sell sex capsules in the boroughs of New York City, because they'll put the bodegas and all the convenience stores out of business if they can sell other things, other items besides liquor, such as cigarettes or any convenient item that's high profit. Cigarettes are not that high profit, but sex capsules are. So sex capsules actually keep bodegas from going broke when they sell sex capsules. And there's hundreds, thousands of bodegas throughout all 4 boroughs in New York City. A lot of times they put the sex capsule down underneath the shelves, or they'll put it out in the open, back in the back. But they keep it away from children, and that's a good thing. That when the retail outlets sell sex capsules and they sell it to everybody 18 and over, it should only be sold to an adult. Just like Viagra and Cialis can only be prescribed to an adult 18 and over. So this is a good thing. And the government knows that sex capsules sell all over the shelves, as readily sold as milk throughout the counters of America, or throughout the stores in America. Milk's not sold on a counter, and milk is not sold in a smoke shop. Milk is rarely sold in a liquor store, but if it is, you'll see a few cartons of milk, and that's it. The sex capsules, they'll have maybe 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, maybe 100 different varieties of sex capsules up on the shelves. And they're high-profit merchandise, much higher profit than milk. But can you imagine, again, if milk was required by prescription, how it wasn't readily available for the public to buy, to purchase in a retail store? When infants need milk to live and for their body development, milk is healthy. The only bad thing about milk to me is it has a lot of sugar in it, and it makes me gain weight. So I don't drink milk anymore. But up to like 20 years ago, I used to drink milk every day. During the meal, I used to love milk when I ate a meal. Now I drink a Diet Coke when I eat a meal. So Diet Coke's not healthier, but it's not going to make me gain weight. So my tastes have changed as far as like having something to drink with my meal. But milk, can you imagine if it was required by prescription, how much the price would go up on milk? How much the cost would go up on milk? The way it's sold? Because it's sold freely over the counter, but stores rob the public when they sell sex capsules. They buy them cheap and they sell them for like 300%, 400%, 500% profit. Some stores only make like 250% profit. But they will make at least 200% profit when they sell a sex capsule in a blister pack throughout America, any retail store. Because I'm not a high-volume seller like cigarettes in a smoke shop or in a liquor store. And it's just an accessory item that they have out of convenience to the customer to give their store a little more power. And each customer likes a certain sex capsule blister pack, and if it works, they're going to come back and buy that same blister pack again. And I've had people constantly tell me, Rhino's the best. Rhino's the best. Well, Rhino's just another pump fake. It's just a sex capsule that's filled with fillers and secret recipe. And fillers eliminate the strength of a sex capsule and its longevity also when you swallow the capsule and put it in your body, because now you've got sawdust inside the sex capsule that's wasted ingredients, because that's all fillers are. It's a pump fake anytime it's in a sex capsule. The only time fillers need to be used is in a pill to give the pill its design and texture. That's the only time. Any other time fillers are used, it's a pump fake. And that's what they do. They pump fake the distributorships when they make them in these underground factories, and they put half the secret recipe and half fillers inside, and the capsules filled up with ingredients. Now they get their $1 million order by ship, and they open up the capsule and they say, "Oh, it's full of ingredients. I'm getting more for my buck. I'm going to buy this from the same factory next time. Also, get the big order." And that's what they do. So they're pump faking the distributorships. If they pump fake the distributorships and they continue to sell to the distributorships and they get the fillers that cost them nothing, the sildenafil and tadalafil is not going to cost them much either overseas, but it's not free like the fillers are. The fillers are like the cost of sawdust next to a wood pile. Would you pay for sawdust next to a wood pile? Would you put sawdust in anything if you had to pay for it? Of course not. Sawdust is free. After you chop the wood, you got the sawdust laying there. And if the producers of sex capsules in the underground factories can add fillers inside the capsule, and less sildenafil and tadalafil, and fill the capsule with ingredients, that's a good thing, because Now, if they don't make the capsule too strong, they're not worried about America. They're worried about their own government coming after them. That's what they're worried about. That's their fear, is their government coming after them. Once the capsules get into America, nobody's going after them. The other retail outlet to buy a book is Chevron Gas, Liquor, and Convenience Store on 1301 East Altman Street. There's 2 Chevron stations. Make sure you get the right one. That's Chevron Liquor, Gas, and Convenience Store on 1301 East Altman Street in Ely, Nevada. You'll get the free hat whenever you purchase my book. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. But their local government will go after them if they're producing something too strong. So they produce capsules weaker to be on the safe side. So the public in America, and where sex capsules in blister pack form are readily sold. They're not readily sold throughout the world. They're sold in boxes or bottles or anything such as that, but they're not packaged in blister packs. Because blister packs are expensive packaging, an expensive form of packaging. Because we make such high profit when we sell our merchandise in America, the stores can afford to pay for blister packs, and that's how they sell them and make more money, by showing the capsule out in the open and then putting a big blister pack surrounding the capsule to give it the background and give it the marketing space that it needs and deserves to have. Now a customer sees a large blister pack with the capsule inside a plastic container or wrapped inside plastic. They can see the capsule visually. They're seeing what they're getting. So that's effective packaging. And that's why blister pack packaging is so popular in America and not throughout the world, because our profit margin is higher when we sell the merchandise versus other countries. And that's why investing is made in blister packs for sex capsules and other blister packs of other goods for that distinct reason, because the profit margin is higher and they can afford to package it, because the packaging is more effective for the retail stores to make their money, to make more revenue and jack it up in price. And that's why blister packs of any product inside that blister pack is more popular in America than anywhere throughout the world, because our profit margin is higher. Our market is stronger. Everything we sell in our market enables the retail stores to make more profit. More profit, more people in business. More profit, this means the distributors get involved in the business because they can make the money also. But distributors don't make the money and don't make the markup on a sex capsule and a blister pack like a store will make. The store jacks it up way in price, like 200, 300, or 400% profit. A distributorship is lucky to make 200% profit. And the profit margin, even though it's 200%, the profit is much lower when they sell it to a retail store. The advantage of being a distributor is while you're sleeping at night and the store is paying the expenses and paying the costs on the rent or for their help to run the store and make sure that people aren't stealing merchandise out of their store. Every time something gets sold out of a store, the distributorship, it doesn't cost the distributor money. The distributor is actually able to sell the product sooner to the retail outlet, because when the retail outlet runs out of goods, whatever good it is, they will order more from the distributorship. So the distributorship doesn't lose when items get stolen in a store. The store loses, so they have more expenses to worry about. The store, they have to pay money for licensing. A distributorship has to pay money for licensing, but they don't have the hidden expenses that a store has, such as rent. Rent for a storage unit or rent for storage for your goods, but they don't have to pay the light bill. They don't have to pay the rent that maybe goes up every year, or every 2 years, or whatever. The landlord is the one making the money in the background. Just like landlords in every other country, when these little stores and these small streeted markets sell their goods, and they have these small little markets, and they're paying rent to the landlord. Ultimately, the landlord makes more money than anybody in the retail business. And I can get into casinos, and I can expose casinos for that also, because a lot of these casinos, you think, oh, they're powerful casinos. They don't own the land. They don't own the property. They own the gambling as far as like the management goes and everything like that. And a lot of them are in debt. So don't think when you walk into a casino, all that glamour that's surrounding you, that they're so powerful, because the power is the real estate, the company that owns the real estate, that owns the property. That's the power. That's my sentiment on that. So getting back to America, like how beautiful this country really is. It's so versatile in beauty, and just when you're driving through from the East Coast all the way out west, and you see the Farm Belt, and you're able to experience driving down the freeway through the Farm Belt, and see the beauty of all the crops that are being grown, how strong this country is for agriculture. Well, that needs to stand. That needs to continue, because farmers and ranchers make the world go round, especially in America. And they feed a lot of the world also. America feeds a lot of the world. Russia would starve to death without America. Absolutely starve to death. That's another reason we should be able to end the war. We should put heat on Putin that way. Remind him that, hey, you want our food? Stop killing people in Ukraine. Putin is a lying sack of shit. He's going to continue to lie as long as he breathes. He's going to lie. He's a sociopath, and he's a punk gangster. I know 1 million people in America that would like to be locked in a room and beat him to death, and I'm one of them. I don't consider myself a fighter, but believe me, you lock me in a room with Putin, one of us is not coming out alive. I have to tell you that attorneys, I can't get over the fact that my attorney robbed me out of $150,000. 2 attorneys robbed me out of $150,000 and left me defenseless in court, because when I fired them, I no longer wanted their services. I don't want anybody representing me that I don't trust. So when I fired Matt Johnson at Johnson & Gubler, and I fired Mike Sant at Mike Sant Law, I know I did the right thing. And I will try my best to get my money back in district court when I sue them. And I've currently filed a lawsuit right now because I couldn't get the money back from them when I turned them into the Bar Association. So that was like a 7-month process. It was a waste of time. Just like the Gaming Commission is a waste of time in Nevada. They don't represent the people. They represent casinos, and casinos hide behind the lines, and the Gaming Commission hides behind the lines, and they protect each other. And they get paid off. That's all it boils down to. It's all bullshit. The American people have been lied to for years about sex capsules from the federal government. They refuse to tell them the truth about sex capsules and how healthy they are, because it's the healthiest way by far to take sildenafil or tadalafil. Much healthier than Viagra, and healthier than Cialis also. But if I were to rate the two companies, which I believe is the healthiest of both, I'd say Cialis is the best pill over Viagra, because you can get the duplicate Viagra pill, the blue pill, from Canada and get 140 pills for $100. The same exact recipe. So why would you want to pay $20, $25 for a pill, a Viagra pill, and then get clipped on the insurance and get sucked into the insurance, which many American people do? It's a scam. It's a major scam. It's all about money. So you got Viagra selling the pill, overinflating the price, and then the insurance company's charging an insurance premium every time you take the pill. according to how many times you take the pill. That's what your insurance costs will be. So you're paying like double the price of the pill. You're paying twice as much. You're paying again 100% more, the same value that you're of costs that you're putting into the pill. You're putting into insurance. And why would you want insurance when you're taking some of the most heart-friendly medicine in the world? Viagra is heart-friendly. It's just not as heart-friendly as sex capsules. It's not as long-lasting as sex capsules. It doesn't offer you the natural testosterone that sex capsules offer. That's the peak of my statement right there. There's no natural testosterone from Viagra or Cialis. Zero. And every time you swallow a sex capsule, you're getting natural testosterone that's surrounding the secret recipe. And nearly every sex capsule has fillers in it because they're pump making the distributorship, so they're not as effective and not as healthy as my sex capsules were before they shut my business down. So I had this healthiest sex capsule in the world on the shelves, and they shut me down until my blister packs disappeared. They're no longer on the shelves. And, they never came after the stores. They came after me. So now all my blister packs disappeared on the stores and were sold out. And the duplicates came out while they were selling out. And all this duplicate product that's mixed with fillers. Maybe one of these manufacturers will figure out not to put the fillers in like I did. But my point is they came after me. They targeted me. Either because I'm a strong Republican and a Trump supporter, and I let everybody in the world know that I was, or they came after me because Big Pharma put the heat on the DA, the local DA of Nevada, of Las Vegas, Jason Frearson, for him to target me. But he targeted me for A or B. Either because I was a strong Republican and a strong Trump supporter, or because of Big Pharma. Because I'm bad-mouthing Big Pharma right now. And that's my duty to continue doing this, because I represent the American people even more strongly now than I did when I was in the sex capsule business. Because you're not going to get my product anymore. What you're going to get is you're going to get my wisdom, and I'm going to share my wisdom with the entire world. And I'm going to expose the government for what they're doing, because they should tell you the truth. They should go out of their way to tell you how healthy sex capsules really are, which is the healthiest way to take sildenafil or tadalafil. Now, on my road trip, after driving through Iowa and Ohio, first Ohio, Iowa, and then Nebraska, what a beautiful, beautiful state each one of these states were. And I've driven through them many times. A dozen times I've driven through these states, going back and forth across America. I've been to D.C. like 2 or 3 times in my life. I think 2 different trips I went to Washington, D.C. The last time I drove by it on my way up to New York City to meet Trump on my most expensive road trip ever taken. And that was like that was a worthless, maybe a waste of time trying to meet Trump in New York, but I had a good time, and I tried my best. And I enjoyed eating good food in the Trump Bar and Grill in the Trump Hotel. And I remember walking off and seeing some valet parkers or maitre d's in front of another hotel that Trump used to own, and I found out that he sold it several years ago. And I asked them what they thought about Trump. And these socialist thinkers in New York City, they've got their head up their ass. They don't like, a lot of them don't like Trump because they're Democratic activists. They're Democratic thinkers. And it doesn't matter. Basically, New York City is not like living in a real world. It's a fast-paced environment. Depends on tourism. You can see all kinds of people coming in and out of New York. It's not a real environment as far as I'm concerned, like living on the West Coast. The West Coast, Vegas, it's not a real environment either. It depends on a lot of tourism. But when you get outside the skirts of Las Vegas and you don't waste your time with the tourism, Vegas is just a normal, everyday town. It just happens to be open 24 hours. But that's the beauty of it. I love the fact that it's open 24/7. But I'll take California over Las Vegas. I think California is beautiful. Even though California is more expensive, I think there's a lot of opportunity for somebody like me, or maybe if like you have the entrepreneurial spirit, you find a market to get into, maybe your expenses are higher, but your profits higher. But the problem is the government's going to chew you up and take your money. They're going to rob you out of your money. Now, if you're a crooked company and you're in California, they actually save you with their laws, just like the packaging factory that is trying to beat me out of my money, won't give me back my retainer that I gave them. Not retainer, but I put up, what do you call it? You have to put so much money up to get the blisters made and to get the trap cards made, and I gave them like a $50,000. So we'll just call it a $50,000 retainer that I gave them, and they tried to beat me out of it. I got half of it back another way, but they still owe me $25,000. I hired a lawyer. Ended up writing him a letter, and it cost me $3,000 for the lawyer. It cost me $2,600. I got my $400 remaining money on the retainer with that lawyer. I got him to mail me back a check. Got rid of him because I knew he was a waste of time. He was just another scammer, another scamming attorney that wanted to act like he was honest, and didn't really accomplish anything. The only thing he told me that gave me good information was that if you want to take him to court, you're going to have to get licensed. So I thought, why not write him the letter? At least I got a shot. But taking this packaging factory to court, I'll never be able to sue them out of their money because I'm not licensed in the state of California, and I don't plan on being licensed in the state of California. Another retail outlet selling my book and free hat is Hoover Dam and Liquor in Boulder City, Nevada, just outside of Las Vegas and outside of Henderson, Nevada, just south of there on the way to Phoenix. So that's 1311 Boulder City Parkway is where they're located. Hoover Dam and Liquor. Go over there to the best little liquor store in the state of Nevada. Hoover Dam Liquor. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. Passion Plus Enterprises. The only thing I do now is I'm a live podcaster. That's my goal and objective, is to run a live podcast and share my knowledge throughout America and the entire world. And I enjoy that because I enjoy telling the truth and giving you my knowledge and sharing it with you because God kept me alive on my path in the first place. I wouldn't be here right now if God hadn't given me the sense to stay alive and watch my back and continue rolling the way I did. So I love Nevada, and I believe it's a freedom state. The only problem is with Nevada, there's so many different forms of law enforcement agencies in Las Vegas. It's scary. They're all over Las Vegas. Las Vegas is infiltrated with different law enforcement agencies, and I'm going to have to fight them to win. I'm going to have to fight them. I'm going to have to fight them with my heart, my soul, and with my integrity as to what I believe in. I'm going to have to win that way. I'm going to have to win as a fighter. I can't win being weak. And that's another reason why I enjoy my podcast, is because I can expose the people that aren't giving the American public good service and aren't being honest with them, which is continually has happened for decades with the federal government by not allowing the American public to know about sex capsules and their healthy values. They are so healthy. They are the greatest multi-purpose vitamin a man can take, hands down. They add so much to the human body. Keep disease from occurring. That's a beautiful thing. That's the end of my very expensive road trip. Back to Mar-a-Lago and then up to New York City and back through the Farm Belt and on down through Colorado and down the 70 freeway through Grand Junction and down through southern Utah, connecting in Beaver, Utah on the I-15. Then down through Cedar City, down to St. George, Utah, where the climate is fantastic in St. George. It's like California. Doesn't get too cold, doesn't get too hot. Well, it does get hot in the summertime. I take that back. It's not like California. California is the best climate by far. It does get hot in St. George. But they don't get the snow like they do in other parts of Utah. So that's why a lot of people like living in St. George. A lot of snowboarders come there and stay for the winter. But on down through Mesquite, which I love. Beautiful little town. Another hot plate in the summertime. Back to Vegas, I just had to think about my future problem in Baton Rouge and how I was going to get my Mercedes back. Because I knew they weren't going to give it back unless I fought for it. And the only way I was going to fight for it was to keep going back to court and keep reminding my lawyer, Brent Stockstill, my attorney from Baton Rouge. And he's a great attorney. He's the best. He's not a greedy attorney. He represented me effectively, and he got my Mercedes back. I had to fly back there to court 6 separate times in between May or June or July. I think I flew back there my first time in May or June. And then I flew back there probably every month or almost every month, one time each month. Until finally in December, they awarded my car back. But you think that one out of those 6 times before I flew back to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, do you think either one of my attorneys, Matt Johnson or Mike Sampt, ever called me up and reminded me how important it was to show up to court on time so they wouldn't extradite me back to Louisiana and throw me in jail? Not once did they ever remind me of that. Not once. Because they wanted to see me get locked up. If I got locked up, they could sit on my money where I couldn't try to get it back. And they weren't sure that I was going to get indicted. That's why they had me sign the contract. That's why they took my money and made me think that I was going to get indicted within the next year. Well, it took 2.5. It took 2. Let's see. I got the warning from the federal government in August 9th, 2022, and I didn't get indicted until August 2025. So when they took my $150,000 and got their last payment August 9th in 2023, nearly 2 years. 2 years went by. 2 more years went by while I'm sitting idly, just wondering if I'm going to get indicted. And thoughts are going across my mind. I'm going through my mind, and I'm thinking, every time I'm flying back to Baton Rouge, not once did they ever talk to me on the phone or call me or remind me how important it was to show up to my court case. And I'd fly back there. I'd make the reservation to get ready to fly back to Louisiana, back to New Orleans. I'd fly into New Orleans, Louisiana, every single time. And then I'd rent a car. Well, of course, I rented a car from Enterprise Car Rental because they're the best. Cheapest, best service, great variety. They rule as far as I'm concerned. I would never use another car rental company, but Enterprise. I've saved thousands of dollars using Enterprise Car Rental in my lifetime. It cost me a couple $1,000s when I had to rent a car from another company versus them because they weren't located in the Baton Rouge airport. So I won't mention the company I used again, but I'll just tell you that Enterprise Car Rental was not in the Baton Rouge airport like they are in the Orleans airport in New Orleans, which is the biggest airport, of course, in Louisiana. And when I used Enterprise Car Rental, they treated me so good. They took such good care of me. They are the greatest. I strongly suggest use Enterprise every chance you can. They'll give you great service and give you a great variety of cars to rent. And if you got a problem, they'll listen to you, and they'll probably end up giving you a discount regarding that factor that you complained about. So they're a great company. That's all I have to say. But when I'd rent the car from Enterprise and drive down to Baton Rouge and rent a motel room so I'd be close by to the court case, I want to get a motel room within miles of the court. And when I'd go to the court case and show up at whatever time, 9 o'clock in the morning, I'd be there by 9 o'clock on the button. I was never late. I was there at every court case and never missed a court case. Because I knew how important it was to show up and be there on time. But Brent Stockstill was a great attorney because when I would show up to court originally, he had arranged it so I didn't have to come back to court. Then I'd have like a couple days or a few days, up to 3 days, before I'd have to fly back to Vegas because I already booked my plane flight. There's no reason to change it, and I'd enjoy the moment. And I'd always sneak on up to Mississippi, go up to like Biloxi, Gulfport. Man, I'd stay in Biloxi, and real close to the ocean. I went and stayed the same place every time, and eating the best seafood that you could possibly eat in America is in Florida and along the Gulf. Say Fort Walton Beach, great seafood. Pensacola, great seafood. That's along the Gulf of America now. It used to be called the Gulf of Mexico, but God bless Donald Trump for calling it the Gulf of America. And getting back and biting back a little bit for them trying to change the names of football teams and other things that they wanted to, the woke culture wanted to change. So Gulf of America is has a way better sound to me than the Gulf of Mexico. So nice going, Trump. Anyway, you get you get a strong leader in office like Trump, a lot of good things can happen. You get a weak leader like Biden, a lot of bad things will happen. Like 22 million people crossing our border and living free off our laws and our weak government by handing out more and more money to them and taking better care of them than the American citizens. So, fuck the Democrats. There's nothing I like about Democratic politicians. They represent themselves. They don't represent the American people. And Biden, bye-bye. Whatever life you live, have a nice life. Please talk your son out of running this for the president of the United States or whatever he thinks he's going to do, because he's a waste of time. He's a loser just like you. Like father, like son. Obama is the only politician that lives in Washington, D.C. He's the only one that lives there, has a house there. And he wanted to be close by because he'd like to run Washington, D.C. until the day he dies. And he's a weak man. Definitely a weak man, like Matt Johnson running up to his wife in Eden, Utah every weekend to go spend time in Eden, Utah, but he can't talk her into coming down to Vegas and spending a weekend there. For 2 years, he flew up on my money. I mean, I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy that he took my money and he blew it. And I know that Mike Samp blew it. And I know that I'm going to have a hard time getting it back, but I'm going to do my best. But I'm going to enjoy bad-mouthing him along the way. because all I'm going to do is tell the truth. So sue me for that. Sue me for telling the truth. Personally, I don't care. I told you, I warned you, I warned both of them that I was going to expose them for what they did. They were unwilling to give me back my money with the Bar Association. There you go. I get to dwell on it, and I get to bring their name up. That's why I enjoy doing my podcast, because I like exposing people that did me wrong. But I love exposing Brent Stockstill for doing me right, because every time I flew back to Louisiana, and he watched my back and had my back completely by making sure that I didn't have to show up to court the second session. That all I had to do was go back to New Orleans and fly back out. He did me a great service, because that's what good lawyers do. They keep you out of the courtroom as much as possible. To where if you don't show up on time, he's making sure that he didn't have to worry about that, or I didn't have to worry about that. That's a good lawyer. So anybody in Louisiana, anybody around Baton Rouge or New Orleans, you want a good lawyer that's not greedy, that's going to do his job for you? Brent Stockstill. He's a soldier, and he'll represent you. So, finally, after the 6th court case in December, they gave me back my Mercedes. And I got in my turbo Mercedes, and where did you think I went? I drove straight back to Austin, Texas, because when I drove straight back to Austin, Texas, I wanted to meet Joe Rogan. I wanted to get on his podcast. I wanted to become known. That what greater way than to get on the hottest podcast in America and become known. So I found out where Joe Rogan lived, actually while I was playing in the Lodge poker room. Poker player gave me good information and told me where to go, and sure enough, I went there, and I was standing right in front of his guard gate on my way back to Vegas, in the suburb of Austin, Texas, out in the woods, and talking on the intercom. And when I used the intercom, I said, "Hello, my name is such and such. I'm the Roadrunner, and I'm from Vegas, and I want to give Joe Rogan my book. Well, you can just leave it underneath the gate, and we'll get it." And I said, "No, I have to give it to you in person. Is there any way that you can come out and meet me?" And they said, "Yeah, we'll be right out." They came out, and both of them acting like hard asses, and I'm the enemy. And he said to me, he says, we could call the cops and have you arrested right now." And I said, "Look," I said, "I just came here to try to meet Joe Rogan. That's all. Why don't I leave my number, and I'll leave my book, and please make sure he gets it." Okay, so I wrote out on a cue card, which I always carry in my back pocket, wrote my number, my name down, and handed it to him and autographed the book, asked him to give it to Mr. Rogan, and I left. That was like January 2025. That was like or late December 2024. It was. I don't remember spending New Year's at the Lodge, but I left the court case in December, so it was right before the first of the year. It was the end of December when I drove to Joe Rogan's residence, and it was December. It was definitely December, and so over a year ago, I've never heard from Joe Rogan, and that's basically what happens. You take a chance, you take a shot, and apparently maybe he didn't think I was worthwhile to be on his show, so he certainly thought Trump was worthwhile to be on his show, and then he even put Bernie Sanders on his show. The funny thing is Joe Rogan, he interviews a lot of people, but when he interviewed Bernie Sanders, it wasn't the same type of interview as he interviewed Donald Trump, because he didn't ask him hard questions. He just asked him softball questions and basically kissed his ass. Kissed good old Bernie's ass, which everybody else does. They kiss good old Bernie's ass, along with Ocasio-Cortez, and he kisses her ass also. They kiss each other's cheeks. And Here's a guy who got married in Russia and had his honeymoon in Russia. Why didn't he stay in Russia with the socialist wife? Why did they come back to America to impose their weird thoughts on us? Maybe they didn't see the movie Dr. Zhivago like I did when I was like 10 years old. I found out Dr. Zhivago, Ivan, came out in 1965. It came out when I was 10 years old. That's when Dr. Zhivago came out, and that's when I snuck into that movie theater at the Cottonwood Movie Theater in Holiday, Utah, and saw the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life, Dr. Zhivago. What a great movie that was. Oh, Julie Christie, what a sexy beast she was. Boy, with those beautiful lips. The Madonna tried to have, the doctor give her later on in life, but her lips look atrociously bad. The doctor can't give you what God gives you. Whatever God gives you, it's the best. It's the greatest, trust me. And getting back to Bernie. Wow. Here's a guy who's made millions of dollars. He's worth, what, about $800 million now? He's like, maybe he's a billionaire now. And he made all his money off that newspaper in Maine. Newspaper. I guarantee it's a fake newspaper. It's not real. They don't give out the real information. Believe me. It's like CNN. Bernie is like, he should own CNN. Then he'd be even richer because CNN is big throughout the world, huge throughout the world. Fox News is big in America. But CNN it rules throughout the world. I mean, any country you go to, you're watching CNN. Will be on the news constantly, shoving their agenda down your throat. You think fake news is bad in America, go to other countries. It's much, much worse. But trying to get on Joe Rogan's podcast and give him some real thought. Why would he take the time for somebody like me? I'm a nobody, right? I mean, like, who knows the Roadrunner? You're just learning about the Roadrunner now. And that's the only way that I can become known. Because Trump doesn't need me to speak for him to get elected. And I would speak for DeSantis or J.D. Vance if either one of them ran to be president of the United States in 2028. I'd speak for either one of them. And we'll see what happens. But as far as that goes, I think Trump is the greatest speaker of any president we've ever had. He sure beats that slow-rolling Obama, the way he talked. You know, he'd sit there and stop talking for like 5 seconds and then say something like it was going to be very important. It's like his memoirs, like his book on memoirs, you know. I heard that book puts everybody to sleep. That's if you want to go to sleep. If you want to go to sleep at night, just open a page of Obama's book on memoirs and he'll put you right to sleep before you can get past the page you're reading. Hilarious. Obama is like not a writer. I'm sure he had a ghostwriter write his book, just like Biden or anybody else, Hillary Clinton. Senator Kennedy that puts like 2 or 3 books out a year. Come on, you don't have time to write a book. You give them your agenda or whatever, have a ghostwriter write for you. Who you fooling? If you wrote your own book, how could you be taking care of the American people as a senator if you're writing 2 or 3 books a year? Impossible. But he'll slap his name on it like he's the writer. He's got his audience. Here's the guy who ran as a Democrat and couldn't make it as senator, and then ran as a Republican and got elected. I mean, he's not going to share that with you. He's not going to come out and say, hey, I ran as a Democrat, but I couldn't make it. But then I ran as a Republican, and I can make it, and I'm a strong Republican now. Well, that's bullshit. I was born and raised a Republican. I'm 70 years old. The day I came out of my mother's womb, I was a Republican, but I didn't know it yet because of my father. My father was a strong Republican. And he was going to influence any one of his children that way because he was not only a great businessman, But he taught us all the logic behind good business, and saving money is the number one ingredient to being a great businessman. Not wasting the money you earn, but reinvesting it. Not throwing it away, but reinvesting it. Anybody who doesn't know that in business and throws the money away they earn and doesn't reinvest, their business is not going to grow and they're not going to be successful. My father would buy his real estate that he can afford to invest in, and he'd take care of his family, and he took care of my mother and tried to keep her alive and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to keep her alive when she fought her breast cancer. Taking her down to Houston, Texas for chemotherapy, spending a ton of money trying to keep my mother alive. He was loyal to my mother, but he always used to give my mother a white lie. He always used to say to her, he'd say, if you ever vote Democratic, I'll divorce you. Of course, that was a white lie. He wasn't standing next to her at the voting booth. She didn't have to tell him who she voted for. And naturally, she's not going to tell him if she did, but I know my mother voted Republican anyway because she was a smart woman. She was the smartest person in my family, actually, my mother. And we always used to tell her that. If you vote Democratic, for any Democrat, I'm divorcing you. My father loved my mother immensely. They loved each other a great deal. They were the greatest parents on earth. I love my parents. My father died quickly. My mother died slowly. I was glad to see my mother go. My father, as far as I'm concerned, his ex-wife murdered him. She's dead now. But she was a gold digger. After she married my father and he died, and she got the house in Iris Lane, and she sold the house in Iris Lane. She went down to St. George. She moved down to St. George and bought a house down there. And her son and her enjoyed the money that she inherited, and that was it. All five of us children, my three brothers, myself, and my oldest sister, my only sister, that also died from breast cancer. We all got like 1/10 of the inheritance, and Kathy got the other half. My oldest brother made me wait 3 years for my inheritance because he knew I was a gambler, and he believed I would blow it. And eventually I did. You never appreciate the money that you received yourself. Trump is an exception. His father gave him $1 million. He inherited $1 million. His father gave him $1 million. He says, okay, go into business and make it happen, make it work. And Trump turned that $1 million into $1 billion. And, of course, he went bankrupt because he got a divorce, filed bankruptcy, and then he turned it back into $1 billion again. So once you learn how to make money, you never forget, right? Well, Trump was good at that. He was extremely good. When I made money, I had a hard time hanging on to it, especially when I was a gambler, because I didn't appreciate it, and I definitely didn't appreciate the small inheritance that I received, and did eventually blow it. So I had to start all back from scratch when I got in the sex capsule business and get pumped back up. Well, hopefully I'll never go broke again. Take your car to Zach Hall's Urban Auto Works on 1010 North Stephanie Street, Suite 1A. I can guarantee it'll be the best mechanical work that will ever be done on your car. It's a personalized job for them. It's not a game of numbers. They're conscientious on anything they do. That includes oil changes, fluid flushes, alignments, brakes. Any kind of diagnostic work that needs to be done, they specialize in, and they do all types of engine work, top of the line. Take your car to Zach Hall's Urban Auto Works on 1010 North Stephanie Street, Suite 1A in Henderson, Nevada, straight out of Vegas. Anywhere in Las Vegas you live, take your car there. You can't go wrong. You can't miss. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. All these things that we have to deal with about being a Republican or a Democrat and what we have to worry about is a good thing, because They don't have those worries in other countries because there is no Republican or Democratic Party. Everybody's running on the same ticket. They'll pump fake you and make you think that you're voting for somebody different, but they're all running the same agenda. They're all running on the same agenda. So in Vietnam, like when you vote in Vietnam, you don't really have anybody you're voting for. You're voting for the person who's representing the same agenda, the same party, even though they say they're representing a different entity of the government and different thoughts, and they have different agendas. No. You only have the right to vote in America. That's the beautiful thing. So anybody who doesn't vote is an idiot. And I didn't vote for years. The only person I ever voted for was Ronald Reagan. And then I voted for Ronald Reagan his second term when he won 49 states. The only state he lost was Minnesota. He won 49 out of 50 states. It was a landslide. And the next time I voted was for Mitt Romney, years and years and years later, because I was a gambler. Gamblers don't care about who gets elected. We live in our own pump-faked world. That's how gamblers were. That's how gamblers are to this day. They don't care about what's going on around them. They talk like they do, but they don't care. Gamblers are not really happy people because they really have no goal in life, ultimate objective in life, other than to just make more money and try to keep that money. And you think I ever thought of buying a house when I was a gambler? No, I had apartments. I rented apartments. I paid for my cars, but I always paid rent. It took me a long time to buy a house. Almost 6 years being in the sex bill business before I was able to put a down payment on a house. So it didn't happen overnight. I worked hard and I saved my money. But getting back to America and what a great country it is. It's a beautiful country. We have a lot of things going for us. By being here, a lot of freedoms that you don't have in other countries, and we take advantage of that. We take it for granted. But we've got to keep these Democrats out of power because they're going to try to take our freedoms away from us, including freedom of speech. They say no misinformation, because anything that they don't agree with, or we disagree with as Republicans, is misinformation, according to Democrats. And is that the show The View? Isn't that hilarious? You know, how you see these women on the show The View. Whoopi Goldberg was in one of the greatest movies ever made, The Ghost, with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. The greatest movies, the most influential movies I've ever seen in my lifetime. Probably equal to Dr. Zhivago in its own way, because I know this sounds crazy, but I really believe that when a person dies, that good spirits or bad spirits take them out of their body. I believe that happens. Because I sat frozen in a movie theater, like in Eagle Rock, California, just outside Glendale, another suburb of California, when I was 33 years old. And I sat there and watched that movie, and at the end of the movie, when Patrick Swayze came back and visited Demi Moore, and you could see his face, ghost-like face, looking at Demi Moore. And then he left. But when he was there, right before when the movie ended, when he was there and then disappeared, I had the Spirit of the Lord. It was like the weirdest, it was the strongest and most beautiful feeling. It just lasted in my body from head to toe. It's just my whole body was tingling. And everybody's leaving the movie theater because now it's ended. And I'm sitting there frozen in my seat with my girlfriend from England. She was from England, a redhead. She was from England or Ireland. Maybe she was Irish. It's been a long time. But anyway, I was sitting there in the movie theater, and everybody gets up to walk out, and I just put my hand on her hand, and I looked at her and said, wait. And I'm just sitting there enjoying this feeling. And everybody's left the movie theater, and finally we get up out of our seat, and I told her, I said, what happened? And I said, I really believe this is what happens when we die. And why would I have this feeling in this movie theater? This is incredible. Why did I deserve this? Heck, I was just a cocaine dealer like a year before that. I was like I was a cocaine dealer in the state of Utah and moved to Las Vegas and would sneak up to Utah and disperse my kilo once every month. For 2 years, I was a cocaine dealer. Yeah, that's right. I was a cocaine dealer. So I didn't get caught. I didn't get arrested, but God spanked me later on when he turned me into a crackhead. Or I did turn into a crackhead myself. God didn't do it. God just sat there and tried to warn me, and I didn't. I refused to spiritually think about God and think about his wisdom, and I just went off the path, and that's how I got hooked on crack cocaine. But after this movie, like in Eagle Rock, California, the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze, which is still one of my favorite actors. I love all his movies. I love them. I love every movie that Patrick Swayze did. Roadhouse. Next of Kin, that was another great movie he did. That had Liam Neeson in that movie. I love Liam Neeson. I love all his movies also. There's not a movie I don't like that I didn't see with Patrick Swayze or Liam Neeson. They're all great. I love every Clint Eastwood movie. I love John Wayne. I love the movie The Searchers. I love the movie True Grit. And I really do believe that John Wayne deserved the Academy Award in the original movie True Grit. Michael Douglas did a great job in the sequel of True Grit. He was almost equally as good as John Wayne. Not quite, but almost. What else? What else am I going to tell you? There's a lot of movies that I like. I liked Robert De Niro until he sat there and went off on Trump and became a hater and suffers through the Trump syndrome and wants to share it with everybody and with all his puppet followers. Kiss my ass. I don't even like watching your movies anymore. I don't believe in your character. How can I enjoy your movie? Alec Baldwin is a great actor. I think he's a fantastic actor because he gets you to either hate his character, like when he played the assassin in the movie with Demi Moore. He played an assassin who ended up killing a girlfriend, first being her lover and then killing her. He's a great actor. He got you to hate his character. That's what great actors do. Or they get you to love their character if they play the good guy. And that's Alec Baldwin's talent. That's why I consider him a great actor. Fantastic. When he played this movie, the last movie, Rust, where in real life they tried to convict him for murdering the cinematographer on the movie, or the person that was using the camera, and she got shot. And when that happened, of course he got off. But I mean, he didn't do that on purpose. So how did he murder her? I mean, it was definitely a bad mistake and weak thinking on his part and anybody else's part on the set. But what a great movie Rust was. I loved Rust. I have the DVD, and he played a great part in that movie. And that's the last movie I've seen him act in. So regardless whether he is a scumbag in real life, which I believe behind closed doors he isn't, I just think that he goes off and has a bad temper and can't control it. I've been told that I have a bad temper, but I've never gone off like Alec Baldwin. I mean, I just think that I've learned to control my temper much better through the years, and I've grown from that. But as far as Alec Baldwin goes, I think that he's never going to grow out of it. I think he's lived a spoiled life his entire life, and I don't think he really cares what people think. So I guess we're a lot like that way, because I don't care what people think either. So I was talking about Patrick Swayze, how much I love this guy. He was the greatest. And And he was the greatest. He was the absolute greatest, Patrick Swayze, as far as like his movies go. He was also in another great movie called Point Break, playing the bad guy. But you couldn't really hate the guy, so he played a good guy, bad guy character. So you couldn't really hate the guy. I mean, I don't think Patrick Swayze was in depth to play the bad guy, unlike Alec Baldwin. And I don't think Robert De Niro can play the bad guy. I just don't think he has the acting ability to play the bad guy. Yeah, with Alec Baldwin, can play the bad guy or the good guy, and that's why I think he's a greater actor. But Patrick Swayze in the movie Point Break, I liked his character. And I especially like Keanu Reeves' character. In fact, I moved from San Diego back to Redondo Beach to live in Redondo Beach as a poker player because I was bored to death in San Diego, and I moved up to Redondo Beach. And that's when I made one of the worst mistakes of my life. That's when I gave my Rottweiler away, my Mel Rottweiler, because I didn't want to take my Mel Rottweiler back to L.A. and not give him a good yard. And I found some people that had a big yard for him, and I gave my dog away. And I didn't sell him to anybody. I gave him the dog house, gave him the dog food, everything, because he was howling at night. Neighbors were complaining, and I found an excuse. I was in a weak moment, and I gave my dog away. And I went for years after I gave Wake away to a boyfriend, girlfriend that had a nice yard where they lived, and I would call him back like a couple times a year and ask him how Wake was doing, and did it for a few years until finally I just said, okay, I won't call you anymore. I just wanted to check it out, see how Wake's doing. But I went for years without owning another dog, years. And believe it or not, the very first time I had a dog, ever since I gave away Wake, when I was 36 years old, I gave Wake away. I didn't own another dog until I adopted Coco out of the shopping cart at the Royal Manor Suites on Boulder Highway in Tropicana. That's when I paid $50 for Coco, spur of the moment, and I had Coco for 15 years, and now I have Sky. So I'll die with a dog. I'll never live without a dog. I just felt guilty after I gave Wake away, and I went all these years without owning another dog. Another 16 years until I owned another dog. Because I didn't think I deserved to have a dog. And I'm glad that I forgave myself for that, and that I overcame that weakness of ever giving a dog away in the first place. Because that's what people do. They give a lot of dogs away. That's how they end up in the animal shelter. And a lot of dogs run off. That's how they end up in the animal shelter. But, man, dogs are the greatest thing on earth. That's all I got to say. Getting back to Keanu Reeves, I mean, he was fantastic in that movie. I love Keanu Reeves. I love all the movies he's in. John Wick, I love all those movies. But this movie that Keanu Reeves was in, he really is like that in real life. I mean, he's down-to-earth guy. He's like laid back, you know. He'll sit there he'd ride the New York subway and sit next to a bum and eat a sandwich next to the bum, or be friendly with the bum, and just like a down-to-earth actor. He's a down-to-earth guy. He's true in real life. And that's why he doesn't talk much. He's like that's part of his persona as an actor. He's completely the opposite of me. I mean, I talk all the time. I love talking. That's why I'm running this podcast, because I was born to talk. I thrive on talking. That's my wisdom. That's how I give you my wisdom. Until you buy my book. When you buy my book, I promise to write another book. But I just enjoy talking. I enjoy sharing my wisdom. That's why I love this podcast. I knew that I was supposed to run a podcast after Joe Rogan didn't accept me on his, or just didn't invite me as a guest. I knew I was supposed to start a podcast soon after that, but kept thinking about it, and playing a little poker here and there on the side, and realizing that, hey, I'm not going to be the best poker player in the world. There's too many tough poker players out there. Maybe I could become one of the best podcasters in the world. Maybe I have that chance. Maybe I have that shot. And maybe I can fight back for what I believe in, because they'll no longer let me sell sex capsules. They'll throw me in prison if I continue to sell sex capsules. They still might try to throw me in prison. Who knows? But I'm not going to go down on my knees. I'm going down fighting. I'm going out fighting. Trust me. I'm fighting right now for what I believe in. So doing this podcast and being on this podcast and calling it Roadrunners Podcast is the greatest named podcast ever, because I've got the greatest name of any book that's ever been in print, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, which is the strongest title of any book ever created. I guarantee it's the strongest title. I knew the title of my book 30 years ago, but I just didn't know what I wanted to write. So I always knew the title of my book before I wrote this book. Thank God to the federal government for getting me off my ass to write it. Because like I said, it's a bestseller already, because that's how I met my wife. I never would have met my wife if I hadn't completed my book. So fate takes its course in life. Just like maybe I had to get beaten out of my money temporarily by my lawyers, because it's just a temporary beating. That's all it is. Because I'm going to beat them until the day I die with my voice. Because that's what God gave me, is my voice. He gave me my knowledge to come along with my voice and display my knowledge and exemplify my knowledge with you while you're listening to my podcast. And I hope more and more viewers listen to my podcast, because this is what I was born to do. I was born to share my knowledge, because my knowledge is unique. And superior knowledge always wins in the end anyway. The truth comes out. You can't pump fake God. You can pump fake everybody else. You can pump fake other people, just like my lawyers pump fake me. But they can't pump fake God. And you'll never pump fake God in your lifetime, no matter what you believe in. God's always looking on his backside. You can turn northeast, south, to west, and nature's surrounding you everywhere you look, everywhere you go, everything you do. You're surrounded by God. I only have one thing to say about actors. Actors are a beautiful thing, because they're very good at their trade. I wish I had become an actor. I wish I was born in Hollywood. Maybe I would have become an actor when I was a kid. A lot of these people that have the opportunity to act when they're young, and then they get burned out later on. Maybe I will act someday. Who knows? Maybe I'll write a movie script, create a movie, and do the Sylvester Stallone, where you're not getting my script unless I get the leading role. That's exactly how Sylvester Stallone became successful, because he was relentless and stubborn and believed in what he was doing. They offered him $50,000 for a script, for his movie script, and they said, we can't give you the leading role. You don't have the experience. He was in that movie, one movie called The Lords of Flatbush. He played a gangster in the Lords of Flatbush when he went up to his pigeon coop and raced his pigeons. And that was a great movie. He could act. He believed he could act. And who could have played the part better than Sylvester Stallone in the movie Rocky? Do you think you'd ever hear about the movie Rocky if he hadn't remained relentless? Now he's doing that great series, The Gangster in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'll talk a little bit about that on my next podcast. But Sylvester Stallone is a good man, and he's righteous to himself and he's righteous to others. So God bless Sylvester Stallone. And all the actors: Jeff Daniels, John Cusack, Alec Baldwin, Robert De Niro, What's the name of that actress that was in that TV series with Tony Danza? What's her name? Alyssa Milano? Alyssa Milano. Alyssa Milano. Alyssa Milano. I didn't even know who she was, her name, until he showed me a picture of her as an adult, and I definitely know who she is. She's another full of shit Democratic activist who wants to lay her political views on us, the American people, when we know she doesn't know shit about what she's talking about. Julia Roberts, another one. I don't know. Maybe like they can go eat ice cream together or whatever, and hang out at the ice cream parlor and talk politics. But they're a waste of time. And thank you, George Clooney, for moving to France. To France, that's right. Thank you for moving to France and becoming a citizen in France. God bless you, George Clooney, because you can't act the look anyway. You're a terrible actor. Just one more thing. If you get bored in life, get a dog, preferably at the dog kennel, because they're dying and waiting to see you. I mean, they're literally dying if you don't get there in time. A lot of them don't have the opportunity this guy did to be in a pro-life shelter. If she hadn't been in a pro-life shelter, she would have been killed before I saw her. So thank you. Thank you for being a pro-life shelter in Huntington Beach, and we need more of them in America. Keep those dogs alive as long as possible. See you next time.